I still remember buying our first house. Every minute of every day, I was wondering what is going on, even when I knew that maybe nothing was. And so I think for what I really try to do is make sure that even if there's nothing to report, that I make some form of contact, whether it's even just a text or a call, just to say everything's on schedule, everything's fine, but just so they kind of have that comfort that things are moving along.
Buying your first house can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Communication and peace of mind is what buyer's agent Jeff Thompson specializes in when it comes to making that leap. In this episode of the SLO County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Sweasey, Jeff talks about what he enjoys about first-time homebuyers and gives insight as to why it's important to enlist someone with a bunch of experience to make the process exciting and positive. Now your host, James Bueno.
So this time, it wasn't me that didn't hit the record button. It was somebody else. I won't name him.
I thought it was just because you sucked on that first one. Okay. I thought that's why I cut it.
I appreciate that. How you doing today?
I'm great.
JT, you're here with us. How are you?
Say hey.
And he's on camera already, so we got to announce him right now. So Mr. Thompson's here.
Yep.
How are
Great
you?
to be here.
Or get to you in just 1 second. Mr. Kingman, you're here as well. And you're on camera?
Yes, and I've hit the record button, and we are a go.
So wait, we got two Jeffs,
Two Jeffs.
a John,
James.
and a James.
Yeah,
Okay.
and a Hal. So I'm not going to say who sticks out, but I mean, yeah. So Hal, let's talk about our guest, Mr. Thompson.
John's known him as long as I have, but he knows more about Jeff's background, some of which we can share, I think, and some maybe not. Yeah.
Well, Jeff's longtime resident of San Luis Obispo.
Right.
You know, our kids grew up together.
Yep.
In fact, great story about Jeff's son. He helped my son get a job, so we like Jeff a lot at our house. And Jeff spent a lot of time in a prior career as a coach to company leaders, right? And you are part of the organization and worked with the author that wrote The Adversity Quotient, which is a book I read in the 90s.
Correct.
And it's a book that I refer to almost, daily, but for sure weekly. Just something that I learned in the book, and it was so great to meet the author who you worked with, and then to get to know you a lot better. So we're so glad to be working with you every day because you bring so much to the table and help us as leaders and help us grow.
Well, it's great to be here. And so much of my former life certainly directly applies to real estate and to all this whole process of working with clients. So it's great to be here.
Yeah, so we've been wanting to have you on one of our podcasts, and we were talking the other day about your experience recently of working with a first-time home buyer, and I go, that's a perfect podcast episode because there's a lot of first-time home buyers. I kind of want to talk through the process, and we'll use this one buyer that we've been talking about as an example.
I have to say, I love working with first-time home buyers. It's a whole new experience for them. And when it comes to, I think, what really kind of moves me in doing this kind of work is really highlighted with first-time home buyers. They're so excited about it. They have this end goal of getting a house. They have no idea what they're doing. In most cases, they get all kinds of advice that some good, some bad.
Over the backyard fence.
Over the backyard fence, or from mom and dad, or from the neighbor, or the brother, or the sister. And so I love the role that we play, from the very beginning of being able to be that neutral party that's only there to help them maneuver this process and having their best interest in mind. And so I think that the very first step, after I meet someone is certainly that taking that time to define that relationship. What can they expect from this? What should they expect from this? And how are we going to get them the house that they're looking for?
The first time you do anything major, it's always a big deal, right? So the significance is even greater.
Well, and I think that the key to it is, referring to kind of my former life, doing a lot of executive coaching and those kinds of things. It's all about asking questions, right? It's all about helping them discover what it is that they really may want or need, or what their parameters are, but helping them get there. Like I know has been talked about many times on this podcast, it's not about telling them. It's about helping them kind of discover what it is they really are after, what they're really looking for, and what really matters to them.
What was the next step in the process?
Once you kind of define the relationship, you start talking to them a little bit about what it is that they really think they're after and what they want, then start looking for that, being able to help them, get them prepared to be able to hopefully make an offer soon. So we always talk about what they want, what they're looking for, The next question, find a good local lender so that they can get, pre-qualified so that they're ready to make a decision. When they're ready to make a decision, that they can do that and they're prepared to do that.
Why is a local lender more important than, say, one of these national brands?
Well, the national brands are really good at advertising. They make it very enticing. But what they don't have are the relationships in this community that if we do run into challenge or we do run into some obstacles, there's no one better than someone that's local that also has relationships in this community to help navigate those things. They're also much more accessible to us as agents to be able to get them on the phone to talk through what the issues might be so that we can move past that as quickly as possible. Local's always better.
And these particular clients went to a local lender. If I understand it correctly, they got approved up to $800,000.
Correct.
What does that mean?
What that really sets is kind of that expectation for them. It doesn't mean they have to buy a house that costs $800,000. That is going to be what they're going to be approved for. And so I think, one of the things helping them talk through that is how comfortable are they with that? That just because that's what they've qualified for doesn't mean that's what they're going to be comfortable with. And so giving them kind of the information to help them then be able to start looking at specific properties that are within their comfort zone. And that's what they think is the exciting part. Let's start looking at some and get into some of them.
How many houses did you show?
This particular couple, I showed at least 5.
Okay. And how many offers did you write?
We wrote 2 offers.
Okay.
And so what's fun, especially with first-time home buyers, they don't know exactly what it is that they want. They may want a condo, they may want a house, they may want, something different. And so it really is kind of exploring with them. And sometimes the process, it's just as important ruling out as it is ruling in, because everyone they walk into, there's a little bit of a, can I live here? And especially if there are a few of them, they start feeling overwhelmed about that. So helping, to eliminate certain ones starts narrowing the field down.
So they found a house for $725.
Correct.
One of the 2 you made an offer on, right?
Correct.
If I remember right, you were telling me they kind of wanted to offer $700, but it had only been on the market for a couple days. How did you sort of coach them through what number to put on the offer?
Again, we're never going to tell them what number to put on the offer, but I think we can help ask questions that help them determine what's going to be the strongest offer. Again, I think with a first-time home buyer, helping them consider not only the price that they're going to offer, but also the terms that we're going to put on that offer is important, and helping put them in kind of the mind of the seller, that if you were the seller, what would you think about this? If it's only been on the market for 6 days and you don't get a full price offer, what might you do? And then let them answer that question of, well, I would probably wait. So then asking the question, well, how bad do you want this house? At what point would you be disappointed that you didn't get this house? And so asking those questions again to help them arrive at, okay, we want to make a full price offer, just as long as they were comfortable with it, but helping them kind of see it's early. This happened to be a trust sale. They want this house. Let's go in.
What's it like dealing with these first-time home buyers who are anxious to get an answer, and an answer might not be coming for a couple of days? What's that time period like? And then, Hal, you're working with the sellers typically. So what's that time period look like from the seller's perspective when they're trying to make a decision on, do I accept this offer? Do I make a counter offer? What does that look like from both your perspectives?
I still remember buying our first house. Every minute of every day, I was wondering what is going on, right, even when I knew that maybe nothing was. And so I think for what I really try to do is make sure that even if there's nothing to report, that I make some form of contact, whether it's even just a text or a call, just to say everything's on schedule, everything's fine, but just so they kind of have that comfort that things are moving along.
Yeah. And I got to say, the reason Jeff is so good at what he does too is because as an agent that works a lot with sellers, the agents that are checking in, asking questions of me, I jokingly tell my clients every seller wants to wait 2 weeks to respond and every buyer wants a response in 30 seconds.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But I also tell my sellers, boy, if you're going to a store and you it's a cheese shop. I love cheese. I don't know why that came up, but there's a block of cheese. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to have that. And they go, yeah, okay, it's $4, great. And you give them $4, go, great, give me a couple of days and I'll let you know whether or not you can have this cheese. I would, nobody likes that. So when you're selling your home, this is for all sellers, you are now in the business of offering a product. Hate to say it, but your home is a product that somebody else may or hopefully does want. Right. So the timing varies, but all I know is, someone like Jeff who communicates well is going to give his clients the best chance, and they'll be sleeping a little bit easier because of the communication. You have a master's degree?
I do.
Did you get a PhD?
Yes.
Also in?
So my PhD is in educational leadership and organizational development.
Psychology, did you have one of those or no?
That's my master.
Okay. So he's more educated than the two of us put together, but you learned it on the streets. Anyway, but it shows.
So you made a full price offer, and within a couple days it got accepted.
Yes.
It wasn't time to pop the champagne yet, right?
No.
So what happened after you got the offer accepted? What was kind of next?
So you have a little bit of a celebration, right? You have a little bit of, it was accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, don't get too excited yet. This is part of a process. This is an important part of it. But now we take this on. So now it's time to work within that contingency period to do our due diligence, to check out the property, to have an inspection done, to have an appraisal, all of those things that have to happen during the contingency period. And so I think, especially with a first-time home buyer, it's really important to take the time to explain what those things really mean. And again, set expectations of different things that can happen. Those inspection reports come back and there are pages and pages because their job is to find every little thing that is wrong or something that needs to be addressed in this home. And so again, kind of that education of helping the buyer understand this is part of the process.
Immediately after the offer gets accepted, you partner with Dakota, who's the escrow manager here, and he contacts the buyer and kind of helps them again, emphasizes what you probably already have is what the process is going to look like.
Right.
And then the buyer, within 3 days, right, has to issue their check for the deposit to the escrow company, right?
For first-time home buyers, it's probably the biggest check they've ever written so far. And that fear that comes with handing that over is pretty overwhelming.
Yep.
And so again, talking to them and helping them understand what a big moment this is in their lives, that they've earned this. They are to a place where they've worked hard, or they've gotten to a place where they're going to own a home. And so really trying to help them go back to what really matters and why this matters to them, I think is an important part that makes it not easy, but a little easier of going, okay, here we go.
There's the psychologist in you right there.
And also knowing that there's still that contingency period,
Right.
that just because they've handed the check in, if something it doesn't work out during this contingency time, they'll get that money back.
Yeah, within about 30 days, that will have been the second biggest check they wrote, because their biggest one they write's on the day they close, right?
Right, exactly.
In this environment that we're in California today, insurance is an issue, right?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the process that they went through to get insurance and how quickly they did it.
With this particular couple, it was fairly easy. One of the things that we do as part of that process right after the offer is accepted, we encourage everyone to first check on insurance. That needs to be one of the first things that they do. And so, luckily with this one, very insurable. Everything came back the way that they wanted it to. But there will be other cases where it's going to be a little bit more of an issue to get insurance, especially these days, where I don't think we used to worry about that as much. That just used to be a given that you'll get insurance. And so that's become an important part of that process.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised, maybe just a little bit, at the price for insurance. Overall, California insurance prices has been way under the average in the U.S., but they're starting to catch up, even though they're still below. But right. I was a little surprised. Insurance a little more than what I might have calculated going into a deal.
Well, and I think just real quick, just with first-time home buyers especially, encouraging them to shop around, because I think there are some other parts of the process that sometimes we take for granted, that you don't know what you don't know. And this particular couple, they knew exactly what to do. I think there are others that then helping them understand how to make the best decision and what they get to do to make that decision for themselves.
I didn't realize this. California insurance rates are higher than Lower than other
Oh yeah, yeah. The average in California is about $1,700 for a $300,000 policy. Texas is double that. Florida's triple that.
Okay, because I got my new insurance bill and it's different than last year.
Yeah, by 30% probably.
Yes.
Yeah, mine went up 30%.
Yeah.
but I have it.
Oh yeah, no.
You know,
Well,
that-
but we got used to low prices,
Right.
and low interest rates.
Okay, so we did the inspections and we got the inspection report back. There are two inspections, a termite inspection and a home inspection, right?
Right.
And in this particular case, the home inspection didn't identify much, but the termite inspection identified some damage that needed to be repaired and suggestion of tenting, right?
Correct.
That's a pretty big number. How did you handle that with the sellers?
So, now, first of all, with the buyers, helping them understand that now we're going to do a request for repairs. Now we get to go back to that seller to ask them for the things that we think should be covered by them. And so then really talking through again what really matters. To make it as acceptable as possible, we want them to be very realistic things. It is an older house, so there are going to be things that just naturally, because of the age of the house, are going to be reported out. But then things like the pest inspection, we talk about what the estimate for it would be. In this case, I think it was around $4,000 or something, and what those things covered, and felt like it's a fair ask to have them ask the seller to cover those things, including the tenting of the house. So we do that, as well as then, based on the inspection, we may ask for a few other things to be looked at, especially around safety kinds of issues or things that aren't necessarily just due to the age of the house. I think can be a pretty good gauge of what you might consider asking for.
So we get agreement on those things between the buyer and the seller. And in the background, we've got the loan being approved, which worked out great.
Right.
And we've got an appraisal, which that worked out great, right? In fact,
Right.
next week we're going to be talking to an appraiser about the appraisal process, so I'm excited about that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we're coming up on moving day and closing day.
Right.
And there's one thing you can that I know that you told me that was.
Well, I mean, first of all, I love handing them the keys.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
I love being able to go, this is finished. The other thing I think that brings a lot of comfort in the process is, as their agent, of course, I'm always going back and forth and talking with them about all of these things. Dakota is also, he's the one working, not really in the background, he's very much in the forefront of working them through every single step of the process. And so without Dakota, it would be a much messier process.
Yeah, he was on a few weeks ago. He said he did 800 deals in the last 5 years. Do you think he knows what he's doing or
Right.
what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he communicates extremely well and takes them along the journey.
Yeah.
And so they feel very comfortable reaching out to him as well, because he's doing a lot of back and forth with the title company, with the listing agent, with everyone else as this process kind of rolls along. That's what all leads us to closing on this house and handing them the keys and saying it's now yours and your homeowners.
What was the best part of this whole process for you?
What I love overall about it is just the excitement every step along the way. You get all these little victories, right? You get every time you jump a hurdle, you get these little victories that really mean a lot to these buyers. It reminds you every day of why you do what you do and the importance of helping them have that experience is important. Facilitating that experience, I think, is the best part for me. You run into obstacles, you run into different things along the way, and helping manage that so that it doesn't take away from it, but only is just a part of it, almost makes the reward even better at the end, like so many other things in life.
Do you remember what you told me a few days ago about what it feels like to work with a motivated buyer?
Well, it feels really good, for sure.
Yeah, because not all
That is
potential buyers are motivated to get a deal done, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are what my dad used to call tire kickers, you know?
Exactly. Which sometimes, it takes those tire kickers to get to be
Oh,
those
sure.
motivated buyers.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, it's great when they're ready and let's do this and put that in motion.
Well, I know how you're very proud of yourself for bringing Jeff on the team, aren't you?
I'm proud of
What a
myself.
great-
that
what a great
somebody
choice.
told
You don't
Jeff
have to
call
answer
me.
that.
Yeah.
What a great choice you
Well,
made out.
of course, that's because when your daughter and my son were in high school and they were goofing around just playing, and one of them got Jeff. We had a fun story. We'll just leave it at that.
It's not for TV.
Oh no, it was completely G, but it was funny. Oh my gosh,
We've been
But
around each other for a long time.
We've seen it all. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I love how passionate you are. So we appreciate you. I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
on the team.
Thank you.
You think about, like, when you were talking about it, the first time buyer, they're so excited because it's the first. It's like when your child starts to walk, you're kind of holding their hands, and then they're on their own, and then they walk and you don't even think about it. That's why the first time buyer is so fun, because it's this whole new experience. For better or for worse, people don't move that often. So sometimes it's a rehash.
Right.
But a lot of times, like, what the heck? How did I get here again?
Right.
You're just so well suited for what you do, and having helped companies for all the years you did, and groups of people, it seems almost like a parallel process, but it's much more individualistic. And I know you did individual coaching in terms of that, and then huge groups of audiences you talk to. So, you're a natural, obviously.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for being here.
Of course.
I appreciate you. And Hal, you didn't talk a whole lot today, but Jeff did a great job. So
This will be our best podcast.
He's saving up for next week.
yeah, that's right. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much, and great podcast today. We'll talk to everybody next week. Thank you for listening to the Hal Sweasey podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. Check for it in your feed for the latest information on the San Luis Obispo County market. The Slow County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on halsweasey.com, where you can find current listings and other real estate tips. halsweasey.com, that's HALSWEASEY.com. I am James Bueno, Director of Marketing for the Hal Sweasey Group. If you're looking for anything real estate, give us a call, 805-781-3750.
San Luis Obispo Real Estate Podcast with Hal Sweasey is also on YouTube. Now you can see people talk about real estate in one of California's hottest markets. Get the latest episode on the podcast page at teamsweasey.com or subscribe to Hal Sweasey on YouTube. Hal Sweasey is a licensed California real estate broker. DRE number 011119111. The Slow County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is a production of AGM Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube. Just click the subscribe button with the bell next to it, and that'll let you know when the new video gets released. And it'll also let you know when there are market updates and other exciting information on the Slow County real estate market, including select listings. California DRE 011119111.